Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
So today I am going to start with factors affecting flood hydrograph. So you know what is a flood hydrograph. So flood hydrograph is a plot between the discharge versus time measured at outlet of a watershed or a catchment. And this flood hydrograph shape, it is a function of many factors. There are rainfall characteristics and basin characteristics. So let's first discuss with basin characteristics. So basin, that is basin means either watershed or catchment. Generally watershed is referred for if catchment area is small, then it is referred as watershed. If the catchment area is very big, then it is referred as catchment. Or even it is called also a basin. So if it can be the basin shape. It can be either fan shaped or elongated or dumbbell. Look at the figure in the next slide. See, this is a basin or watershed. So these blue lines, they refer to the drainage network. You can see that from the far away corners of the basin, the drainage network is formed. Okay, by nature this drainage network forms. That means this drainage area or basin, again it can be divided into very small basins which caters to these small streams. Suppose let us say there is a stream here. So nearby area of this stream.
Sir, we can't see your PPT.
No, it shows by I am sharing it. Okay, some of you might be seeing. Whatever.
No,
Now
sir, your PPT is not.
you are seeing it, isn't it?
No, sir.
We can. Few people are having that problem, sir.
Sir, I can see your PPT.
No.
Yes, sir. I can on.
Some of you are seeing or not.
Few people are able to see and few can't.
1 minute. Tell me again. What are you saying?
Few people are able to, but few can't.
Okay, I don't know what is the reason because I am sharing it. Okay.
Try to share it again.
Maybe because of your bandwidth low or whatever. But I have shared it. I have shared it. So look at this watershed. Okay, it's all connected with drainage streams. You see there is a big stream in the middle. This can be a river, and this greenish yellow line, that is the boundary of the watershed that divides the one drainage basin to another drainage basin. So for every far away stream, the nearby area, whatever the rain falls on that area, that caters to that stream. So here look at two streams are joining here, and it is going into a bigger stream. Finally, this bigger stream, it is joining a river or tributary of river. So this is the way the water flows resulting from rainfall to the river. You see in the down, there are three figures. Depends on the shape of the basin. The flood hydrograph shape is affected. If you look at the first figure, so this is a kind of a fan shape. This is called as a fan shape. Okay. You see in this the dominant area, that means most of the area is very close to the outlet. Therefore, the peak occurs early. If you look at here, in the second one, this is also fan shaped, but it is inverted. The larger area of the catchment area is away from the outlet. Therefore, the peak occurs delayed. But in the third case, it is a dumbbell shaped watershed. So in the dumbbell shaped watershed, the significance is it has got two peaks, because first you see this is the outlet. Okay, first the area very close to the outlet, first that contributes to the first peak, and after that there is a delay because storm stopped. Okay, first this is a storm which gives the this flood hydrograph. So this storm, it is not a continuous storm, it is occurred only for some limited time, so due to which first the area close to the outlet that caters or that gives the first peak, and after that, since rainfall stopped, because this area that is a area away from the outlet, still that water didn't reach the outlet, therefore there is a decrease in the flood hydrograph. After that, slowly this water is reaching outlet, therefore again the discharge is increasing, so it forms a second peak. So you can see that fan shaped or near semicircular shaped catchments give high peak, and they give narrow hydrographs. Elongated catchments, they give a broad and low peaked hydrographs. Dumbbell shaped catchments give a complex hydrograph. So complex hydrograph in the sense that it has a multiple peaks. So next important factor is size of the basin. Suppose if it is a small catchment or small basin, then the peak occurs quickly. If it is a larger basin, then peak occurs lately. So from the experiments, after studying many basins with varied sizes, the time, the magnitude of the peak, that is a relationship established between the peak discharge and area of the basin, and it can be written as a peak discharge is proportional to A power n, where A is the area of the basin and n is an exponent, so that exponent is 0.5. So from this we can say that if the area is larger, then peak discharge will be higher. See the figure. This is the blue line, that is the storm hydrograph, and there are two hydrographs are there, because the first hydrograph that is from the that is due to the larger catchment area, whereas the second one that is due to the smaller catchment area. So therefore we can see that the peak will be higher in the larger catchment area. So then size of the basin on the time factor, that is time for the peak. So again, after studying various sizes of watersheds, there is a relation established between the time for peak versus area. Then the relationship obtained as time for peak is proportional to A power m, where A is area of basin and m is an exponent, that is equal to 0.2. Okay, so if the area of the basin is small, then the time for peak is quick because m is equal 0.2. And okay, time base of the larger basin is larger than the small basin. If you look at the figure, if you look at this figure, this is the time base. Okay, so for larger basins, the base time will be larger. Suppose we can consider two watersheds. One watershed has an area of 1000 square kilometers, and another watershed which has the area of, let's say, 100 square kilometers. So for a given rainfall, the time base of the larger catchment or the larger watershed will be larger. Then another important factor is drainage density. So if the drainage density is higher, then the response will be quick. So therefore, the peak occurs quickly. If the drainage density is low, then the peak occurs late, or it results in a squat hydrograph. Look at the figure here. There are two basins or watersheds. First basin, it has got the density of this drainage network is quite high. In the second watershed, the drainage network has lesser density. So you can see that the resulting hydrograph from the high drainage density, that is shown with blue color, you can see that the peak is higher. And the second one, where the drainage density is low, the peak is low. Okay, the hydrograph is called as a squat hydrograph. The next important factor is land use. Vegetation, because that increases roughness, or vegetation obstructs the surface runoff. It increases the resistance to the overland flow. So if the vegetation is high, then even a watershed, if the vegetation is high, it gives reduced peak discharge. And one watershed which has without vegetation gives higher peak discharge. So, but this vegetation effect is small. Vegetation effect is strong in small catchments. Look at this figure. There are two watersheds, and two watersheds both are having equal drainage density. But first watershed, which has got lot of vegetation compared to the second watershed. So you can see that the watershed which doesn't have vegetation, the peak discharge is quite high, whereas the peak discharge of the watershed which has vegetation is low. Then another impacting factor is slope of the basin. If the basin slope is high, then the peak discharge is high. Because why the peak is high? Because within no time, all the water from all the corners reaches outlet. So therefore, the peak will be high, and the peak occurs quickly in higher sloped watersheds. And in a flat watershed where the slope is small, the peak occurs delayed, and as well as the peak is low. So the factors which we have discussed, they are basin characteristics. So next important factors are climatic factors. So such as intensity of the storm, duration of the storm, and direction of the storm. So it's obvious the peak is proportional to the intensity of the rainfall, because we know from rational formula, Q is equal to some constant into intensity into area. So if the area is same and the constant is same, then if the intensity increases, then the peak discharge increases. So next is duration of the storm. So if the duration of the storm is high, then so higher volume of runoff is expected. So for extremely longer duration of rainfall, the equilibrium discharge will be attained. So that means once the peak attains, so when peak attains, all the rainfall from all the areas, it reaches outlet, then peak out. Suppose the rainfall duration is continuous, then once the peak attained, that will be the constant. Okay, so the constant peak will be continued until and unless either rainfall decreases or stop. After that, the recession of the discharge starts. And next important factor is storm movement direction. If the storm moves from upstream of the catchment to the downstream, then results in quick peak. If the storm moves from downstream to upstream, then it results in lower peak. Of course, the storm movement that has because the storm movement has significant, because we believe that rainfall is not occurring simultaneously all over the catchment. Okay, rainfall is occurring as at successive intervals from one area to other. So in that case, if the storm moves in the downstream direction, then downstream direction in the sense that along the slope, then the quicker peak will be obtained. So if the storm moves from downstream to upstream, then a lower peak will be expected. And narrow and long catchments, they are mostly affected by this storm movement. So now, I'll teach base flow separation. So we know that runoff is two components. One is direct runoff. Another one is base flow. So direct runoff. So direct runoff is that reaches the outlet quickly, which consists of surface runoff and the interflow, but which comes to the outlet quickly. Whereas base flow is nothing but groundwater flow, which also called as delayed flow. So in base flow case, water has to be infiltrated to the deeper depths, that has to reach the water table, and it has to travel along the gradient, then it has to come to outlet. So in this process, it will take a longer time. So therefore, this base flow is called also delayed flow. Next, because we are more interested in the direct runoff, because the base flow, it is a delayed runoff, and it can be delayed by 6 months, or it may be delayed by 1 year. So we are more interested in the immediate runoff for any construction activities such as constructing hydraulic structures, dams, or storm drainage networks. So in all these cases, we are more interested in the immediate response of the rainfall. So we are more interested in direct runoff. So in this, for this case, uh, a unit hydrograph is developed. Okay, so unit hydrograph is a hydrograph, but which results from the direct runoff, and unit hydrograph is equal flood hydrograph minus base flow. So to derive unit hydrograph, we have to separate the base flow from the flood hydrograph. You see, this is this figure, this thick line, which shows the flood hydrograph. But because we are interested in the runoff, direct hydrograph, that is directly resulting from excess rainfall. So you can see that in this flood hydrograph, even before the rainfall starts, still there is a flow here. Even after the rainfall stops, even after a long time, all the water of the rainfall contributed to the hydrograph, still we can see there is a flow. So before the rainfall there is a flow, and after the rainfall there is a flow, because this is due to the groundwater contributing to the hydrograph. So we need to separate this. There are three methods to separate base flow. These three methods are called straight line method, fixed base method, and variable slope method. So among all, this fixed base method is more popular. So I am going to discuss. So you can before this in the previous lecture, you see this is the flood hydrograph where rainfall started here. Okay, rainfall hydrograph is shown at the top left corner by this hashing. So the rainfall starts at this point, that is the beginning of direct runoff. So before that there is a flow, and after all the water of rain contributed to the flood, still there is a flow in the river due to the groundwater flow. So we need to identify a few inflection points. So they are shown with A, B, C, D, E, F. Or A, which is a point when the rainfall starts. B, where this rising limb it starts tapering off. Then C, which is the peak. Then D, once this at D the recession limb starts. This BD, the curve starts from B to D, that is called as the crown of the hydrograph. So D is the starting point of recession limb, and E is the end of recession limb. So end of the recession limb, that reflects the ceasing of direct runoff. So let's go to the base flow separation. So let's start with a fixed base method. So in fixed base method, so you can see that this is the flood hydrograph where A is the point at which the rainfall started. Then the peak, this is the peak. Okay, so then identify D. So D is n days from the peak. So n is given as a power 0.2. This equation is derived experimentally after studying numerous watersheds. So A is area in kilometer square, and n is in terms of days. So how to draw this base law separation? First, we have to identify this A, D and this peak. We have to draw one vertical line from peak that is shown as a dashed line. Draw a tangent at point A. So this is the tangent at point A. So the point A intersects the vertical line through peak at C. Now we have identified point C. Now we have to identify point D. So point D is which is a point on this recession limb, and it is lagged from peak by n days. So n is equal A is a catchment area or watershed area. So A is in terms of kilometer square, and n is now in days. So from this formula 0.3 A power 0.2, we can get n value. Once n value is obtained, then we can mark point D. Once point D is marked, then join point C and D. Okay, so in this way we have a separated base law. So this is method is called as base law, fixed base method, and fixed base method, which is mostly used method. Okay, this is the most popular method. So next method is straight line method. So in the straight line method, you see the hydrograph where B, which is the end of recession limb, or we can say at B, the rainfall water cease to add to the flood hydrograph. So you know how to mark inflection points. So inflection point is, we can say that slope becomes zero, or we can say that slope changes at inflection point. You see here, it is at point A, there is a downward trend of flow, and then start increasing. So when during the downward flow, slope is negative, whereas at upward flow, slope is positive. So the slope changes at point A. So inflection point is where the slope changes from negative to positive or positive to negative. Here also at B, the slope changes. First it is decreasing, then it starts increasing. So A and B are marked on this hydrograph. Then join them using a straight line. This is called as straight line method. So which is easy way to separate base flow. So next important method is variable slope method. So in the variable slope method, so we have already marked A and P and B. So we have also marked one inflection point. So at this inflection point, the slope changes. Okay, that is, this inflection point represents the starting of the recession limb, and B represents the ending of the recession limb. So draw a tangent at point A. This is the tangent drawn on this curve at point A. Draw one vertical line through peak that meets this tangent at C. So now draw another tangent at point B that intersects a vertical line through inflection point at E. then join CE. Okay, so this complete this red line that separates base flow from direct runoff. So above is direct runoff, below is the base flow. So these two methods are mostly used, and among these three methods, the first method, which is fixed base method, that is most popular method, and easiest method is straight line method.
How is this point
So
an
next
inflection
important,
point?
pardon me,
Sir, can you please turn back the previous page?
previous slide. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So
Sir, how is
camera-
this point an inflection point? The slope is not showing an downward and upward trend here.
you mean why this kind of why it should be like downward and upward?
No, sir. I am talking about that inflection point.
Uh,
How is
inflection
that point an
K.
inflection point? No, sir. That one, or the right side.
Which one? B. Oh, this inflection
No, sir.
point.
Yes,
This
sir. How is this an
inflection point.
inflection point?
Okay, this inflection point. This is a starting point of the recession link. Here it is not clear. You look at this figure. You look at this figure. Okay.
Okay, sir.
See, this is a rising link. This rising link tapers at point B, and it rises slow, but it attains a peak C. Then after that, the discharge decreases. Okay, but it will be kind of a curve up to D. It is a curve, and from D onwards, it's a straight line.
Okay.
So we need to identify this B and D, because this of course it is how to identify these points that comes with experience. Okay, the slope changes there at D. Before that it is a kind of a curve, but after that it is a straight line, or we can say that from D the recession starts. Okay, is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So next important concept is time of concentration. So you can see that this is a pan-shaped catchment area. B is the outlet, and A is the farthest point on the boundary of the catchment. So here there are different dash lines are drawn. What it shows that the points falling on this dash line, they represent equal time of flow to reach the outlet, and these points are called as isochrones. So you can see that the inside dash line, so from this area the water quickly reaches the outlet, whereas from outside it takes more time to reach the outlet. And time of concentration is called as the time of flow from the farthest point on the watershed to the outlet. What does that mean? Because once the rainfall starts, the rain falling, the area close to the outlet that reaches the close outlet quickly, but little far away from that it takes more time. Similarly, the far away area, water reaching from there to outlet takes more time. Finally, which is the farthest point, here in this case A is the farthest point, which takes more time to reach outlet. But once this water reaches from farthest point to the outlet, by that time all the water is reaching the outlet. So that means the discharge will be high, because because all the water from all the areas that reaches the outlet. So time of concentration, so the time at which all of the watershed begins to contribute, and so time of concentration is also called as the time of flow from the farthest point on the watershed to the outlet. So simply we can say that the time taken by the rainfall falling on farthest point reaching the outlet. So we'll do one numerical example from this surface runoff. Determine the direct runoff hydrograph, the phi index and the excess rainfall hydrograph from the observed rainfall. Stream flow data is given. The watershed area is 7.03 miles square. So here flood hydrograph is given, then rainfall hydrograph is given, area of the watershed is given. So we need to find phi index, we need to find excess rainfall, and we need to find direct runoff hydrograph. So this is the data given in the tabular form. So this rainfall it occurred on May 24, 1981 on Shoal Creek at Northwest Park, Austin, Texas. So you see that this 1, 2, 3, these are the data given. On 24th, morning 8:30, rainfall starts. By 9 o'clock, the amount of rainfall is 0.15 inch. And from 9 to 9:30, rainfall is 0.26 inch. From 9:30 to 10, 1.33 inch. And so on and so forth up to midnight on 24th. That is 12 am. So at the outlet, stream flow is measured in cubic feet per second. The data is given. You see that at 8:30 p.m., even before the rainfall starts, still there is a flow, that is 203. And at 9 o'clock, the 246 is there. This is, it can be either only base flow or it is also supplemented by rainfall. So this third column is the stream flow measured. So here this is the Excel table, time hours 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, etc. Then rainfall is given up to 0.5 hour, rainfall is 0.5 and 1.5 inch. Then 0.5 to 1 hour, rainfall is 0.26 inch. So on and so forth. Then stream flow measured is given. So now, first we have to plot the flood hydrograph, that is time versus this stream flow column. We have to plot. So once we plot, we'll get this kind of rainfall, this kind of flood hydrograph. But this flood hydrograph, it has direct runoff and as well as base flow. So we need to separate the base flow. So using the straight line method, base flow is separated, and the base flow is given as 400 CFS. Now base flow is known, then we have to calculate direct runoff. So direct runoff is equal flood hydrograph minus base flow. So 203 minus, we have to subtract 400 from this column. So that is 203 minus 400, 246 minus 400, 283 minus 400, etc. So the direct runoff, but since the base flow is more than the rainfall, so direct runoff contribution is 0. And the direct runoff contribution starts from 1.5 hour, that is 828 minus 400, that is equal to 428. So now we need to add we need to calculate direct runoff. So from here onwards, Okay, so direct runoff ends at 6.5 hours. So we have to find the now volume. How to find the volume? Volume is equal volume of runoff, that is equal of the direct runoff, area of the direct runoff into time, that gives the volume. So here in this case 428 plus 0 divided by 2, because when we join the points they become all trapezoidals. So 428 plus 0 divided by 2 into half an hour, that is equal to 1800 seconds. So that's equal to 3,85,200 feet cube. So we have to do this for all the entries. Okay, so these are the volume of direct runoff between in each interval. So when we add all of them together, then we'll get 78 lakh 39. No, we can write it as 3 here. So 78.39 million feet cube as the volume of direct runoff. So once we know the direct runoff, we have to find excess rainfall or effective rainfall, that is equal to direct runoff volume divided by watershed area. So watershed area is given as 7.03 miles square. We have to convert it into feet square. So the conversion factor is given 5280. So from this calculation we'll get 0.4 feet, and which is equal to 4.8 inch, because 12 inches is equal 1 feet. So therefore the effective rainfall or excess rainfall is equal to 4.8 inch. Now we have to find the phi index. So you see that here these are the rainfalls 0.15, 0.26, 1.33, etc. So the 4.8, that is the effective rainfall, is equal 0.15 minus 5 plus 0.26 minus 5 plus 1.33 minus 5. So we have to add all of the rainfalls after subtracting the phi index. So from this we'll get phi is equal 0.21 inch in half an hour. But you see that the first rainfall, which is 0.15, and the last two rainfalls, which are 0.2 and 0.09, so they don't contribute to the direct runoff, so we have to neglect them. So we have to modify our phi value again. So 4.8 is equal 0.26 minus 5 plus 1.23 minus 5 plus 2.2 minus 5 plus 2.08 minus 5. So from this one, phi is calculated as 0.2675 inch per half an hour. But in this also, the 0.26, the rainfall which falls in one interval, that is 0.5 to 1 hour, that is 0.26 inch, that doesn't contribute to the direct runoff. So we need to neglect this. So we have to modify phi again. So 4.8 is equal 1.3 minus 5 plus 2.2 minus 5 plus 2.085. So from this equation we'll get phi is equal 0.27 inch per half an hour. So all the three rainfalls, they are more than this 0.27, so they are contributing to the direct runoff. But this phi value, because this is calculated per half an hour, so in proper units that becomes 0.54 inch per hour. So in the next figure, this is the rainfall lithograph. Okay, from the starting of this is the rainfall lithograph, and we need to subtract 0.27, because here the interval is only half an hour. So we need to subtract phi is equal 0.27, that is this line gives. So whatever the line of whatever the rainfall below this 0.27, that considered as initial losses. So only above rainfall, rainfall above 0.27, that is excess rainfall. So that excess rainfall is plotted here. You see that? So this excess rainfall that gives the direct runoff. So direct runoff that is plotted above this line. So this all for today's lecture. If you have any doubts, please let me know. So one important point in this figure, this it has got three axes. Okay, so left side axis that is stream flow, then this base it is time, and the right side is it is the rainfall. Okay, so there are three axes because rainfall hydrograph that is between time and incremental rainfall, whereas this flood hydrograph that is stream flow versus time. So the time is the common unit for both the figures, but their y-axis is different.